When you plan to start your first business, the most common question which you always ask is that what business you want to start. I personally believe that's a wrong question because you need to rather ask yourself what business suits fine to your budget, your investment, your capital, your life objectives, life goals, and your overall lifestyle. Because the two businesses can generate the same amount of revenue and the same amount of financial and business success, but require a completely different set of skills, efforts, and risks. So today in this video, I'm going to explain a different set of business models which every entrepreneur should need to understand before they spend even the first dollar into a business. So the first business model which you need to understand and which you need to learn, which is most easiest to start, is the services business. Now what comes under the service business category is residential and commercial cleaning business, mobile detailing business, home services business, is a repair and maintenance business. And then when it comes to the professional things, so like accounting, bookkeeping services, consulting services, lawyer services, and you get paid against your service and time, that's what your service business is. So the advantages for the service business is of course, it's a low startup cost. You do not need a large or a heavy amount of capital in order to start the service business. It's fast to launch. You can easily start and launch your business very fast as compared to many other retail businesses. And most importantly, the services business are mostly in demand because they offer your lifestyle services, which everybody needs it. But one of the only challenge in most of services business, and specifically for professional services like accounting firm or a consulting firm, is the business mostly depends on the owner's presence or owner's involvement into the business. And all what you need to do is build up the system around that industry or that business so that you can work on the business, not in the business. The second type of the business is called a product-based business. So as in the services business, you mostly sell your time, right? But in the product business, instead of selling your time, you would be selling the products. So when it comes to the product, it can be a retail business, it can be an e-commerce business, or it can be any D2C, direct to customer business, and any distribution of the consumable items. So anything when it comes to the items and the products, that's called a product business. So one of the advantages for the product business is easier to scale. Like you just need to multiply your inventory, your production, and then your area or geographical presence, and you can scale your business fast. But on the other side of the picture, the biggest challenge for the product-based business is the capital. You need productions, you need inventory, you need raw materials, you need to have logistics. So those all of the different pieces of the puzzles you need to combine and club together to make a successful product-based business. The next business model is basically the subscription-based business model, which is one of my very favorite, and it's mostly the recurring business model. It gives you the predictability in your revenue and in your business performance. So the examples of the subscription-based business model is like any of your home service business. For example, a cleaning business can be a subscription model because one customer you acquire and it keeps paying you repeatedly, reoccurringly, every week or every month. The same goes with any software technology companies, same goes with the detailing companies, the laundry service company, or most of the services company are the recurring business model. And the beautiful thing about the recurring or the subscription based business model is it gives you the predictability, it gives you the cash flow, and that's exactly one of the biggest business advantage any business or any enterprise would ever have. Next business model, which is on the number 4 in my list, is the franchise business model. Now when it comes to the franchise, that gives you the certain advantages, like rather than doing the market testing and starting something from the scratch, you primarily go and invest into some of the existing established and successful business brands, and you purchase their franchise and become a franchisee, and then that way you have a proven market business models. So some of the examples for the franchisees are most of the restaurant businesses are usually the franchise business. Fitness centers, telecom businesses, telecom retail stores, or many other different kind of retail businesses are usually the franchise business model when it comes to the success of the business. So as you would have a lot of good benefits of a franchise business, on the other side, the demerit of the franchise business is it's usually a very capital intensive business. It needs a large amount of franchise fees to be paid to the franchisor, or at the same time you need to spend a large amount of initial capital investment to establish and build the brand as per the provided franchise guidelines. Number 5th business model is again one of my very good favorite business model, which is a marketplace business model. So how does the marketplace works is like you have a service provider and you have a service receiver, or you have a product seller and a product buyer, and you combine them together by providing them a platform. So a very good and a most successful example of the service-based business model is the Uber or Airbnb. Uber does not own any one car, but this is one of the biggest fleet or ride-sharing business model in the world. So how does that model works is you have a service provider, which is the car drivers or the Uber drivers, and you have the passengers which needs those services. So you just act as a platform to connect both of those. So you do not own the platform, you do not own any inventory, you do not need any that kind of capital. All what you do is become a facilitator and connect the both buyer and the seller, and against that you definitely charge a fees. So that's a very wonderful business model. So at the number 6, the business model which falls is the acquisition, the mergers and acquisition business model. So how does that work is, rather than you go to the franchise and keep paying the initial franchise fees, and plus at the same time you have to pay from a monthly and a yearly gross revenue in terms of the royalty fees, or you start something from the scratch and the life of the business becomes uncertain. You do not know what is going to happen in the business. You do not have tested, proven a business model or a business concept, or even a business customers who pays you regularly. Then this acquisition model works in the place, because then you can simply go in the market, find a qualifying business, do the due diligence and acquire that whole business from the seller. If you find a seller and there is a good business in the market, for example, if there is a restaurant or any other kind of a business, and you like the business is making money, but the seller is ready to sell due to whatever his personal reasons might be, or a business overall objectives and the goals. There can be many things, many reasons why people are ready to sell the business. You just need to go crack a deal, make negotiations and acquire the whole business, so that you can carry on the success of the business which the seller bring it on the table. And the last but not the least, the number 7th is the licensing and the royalty business model. That is very similar to the franchise model, and most of the times these two models always get confused between each other, but it's entirely different model. It works in a similar way that there is an established brand, and you get a license from that brand to carry their intellectual properties, their protocols, their SOPs, and even their brand legacy. But you do not have to pay a fixed monthly royalty fees to the brand itself, or a big capital amount of a franchise fees. You pay a license fees to use their licensing, use their SOPs and their overall programs. So the good example for the licensing is most of the times is the educational businesses, different educational programs. There are different brand licensings which one brand has built up its own legacy, and you just acquire their license to sell their product and services. So those are some of the good business models which everybody should need to understand before you actually spend your initial or capital investment. And if you are planning to start your business but you are still confused at which business model suits fine to you, maybe you can click on the link below the description of this video or in the profile of this social media handle, and you can book a consultation, talk to my team. We can help you in identifying a right and relatable business model for you. Thanks so much.